Hi, I'll show you how you can track work by teams. Let's say you have software development workspace here, and you have like a couple of applications like for retrospectives tracking and for development management, like basic Scrum framework with sprints, stories, and bugs. Currently, there is just stories and bugs and let's say retrospectives without any teams. Okay, so here's just a list of retrospectives and so on. But you do want to have track all your work and all your retrospective by teams. So you have, let's say, a couple of teams and want to do that. We can customize Fibery, and let's start from team type. Into development app, we are gonna add our team type. Let's pick some fancy color. This one, let's say. Okay, so we have teams, and now we want to add more data to teams. Let's say maybe every team will have an avatar, and every team, let's say, have, I don't know, what we want to add into a team. Maybe let's add a single select, and it will be team type like dev team, I don't know, marketing team, and so on. So you can put more data into teams, but we want to connect our teams to bugs, stories, sprints, and retrospectives. So basically, we want to separate how team A or team B work on bugs, stories, and sprints, and what retrospectives they have. So we have to add a couple of relations. So relations from team to a story. A team will have many stories. And relation between team and bug. That's right. And relation between team and sprint. And finally, a relation between team and retrospective. Okay, so now we have a bunch of relations. Now move to our user interface to make it really possible. So here is a table with teams, and we can just, let's add team A, team B, and you can open a team and set some avatar, select team type, and so on. It's not really interesting. Let's remove this table. And now create a smart folder. In the smart folder, we can just see all our teams. Here is it. Team A, team B, and we call this smart folder like teams. Now, we want to track work by team. One way to do that is just select team here as a lane. So you want to see all our work by team, and here is it. So this is all stories and bugs not assigned to any team. So you see team A, team B, and you can like move some bugs here, some story, I don't know, here. And let's say this will be for team A. So you can do it this way, like quickly see what teams work on what. But you also can create views specific for every team. Let's say for team A, we have our own list of sprints. Okay. So we want to create sprints for team A. Sprint 1. But for team B, we maybe want to have another sprint. Sprint 1, team B. These are two different sprints. Okay. And maybe we want to see a workboard for every team. Again, we want to see stories and bugs. Columns will be states. And here we go. So we have avatar of assignees, effort, and this is a workboard for every team. Now, if we switch between team A and team B workboard, you see different content. So here we have 1 bug and 2 stories for team A. Here we have 1 bug and 1 story for team B. And if you work in team A, let's say, you can just add this, click on this team and add it to favorites. Now, if you open your favorite section, you have your team here and all views associated with this team right there. For example, might want to have, let's say, a backlog of my work, like stories and bugs. Like a lane, it will be a backlog. And to be a backlog, we should create a filter and filter by state. State is not done. Okay, so we see all our not done user stories and bugs. And again, we can quickly switch here. And if you are in team A, we added the backlog and it just appeared in your list. Again, in your favorite section, you have a team and you have all views associated with this team. Alright, so in your software development process, you can just use teams and create work, user stories and bugs, and assign these user stories and bugs to required team. Now let's jump to retrospectives. So again, you see we have 2 retrospectives that are not associated with any team, and we do a very similar thing. We create a smart folder for team, and we see both our teams here. Again, let's rename it. And for team A, we want to see our, let's say, board with retrospectives and action items for all teams. So we want to see an action item, and rows will be retrospectives and columns will be states. Retros. And let's say we have already 2 retrospectives. Maybe it was related to team A actually. Let's assign it. And this one was related to team B. Let's assign it. And now, if you navigate to retros for team A, you see, okay, you had this retrospective number 1 with these 2 action items. And for team B, you had this retrospective number 2 with this action item. And you definitely can customize this view. And for retrospective, let's say we want to show, let's say, date when it took place. And maybe for cards, we want to see avatars of assignees and maybe due date when it should be completed. Okay. So you can quickly track retrospectives by teams now. In this application, you have a list of teams and so on. And definitely you can add a new team. So you can add a new team, let's say team C. And again, it immediately has its own retrospectives, but currently there are 0, like retro number 1 for team C. And here is it. So you can open it, put some text, what land, what was wrong, what was right, and so on, and create action items for this retrospective. So thus you can quickly separate all your work by teams, like in software space and retrospective space, and that is it. As you see, Fibery is very customizable, so you can like group work by teams or by departments and things like that.